Don in London, hello. Yeah, Don in London, hello. It's just gone 9 o'clock on the 8th of March 2013. My video's all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour and what to do about it, how to get into recovery from an addiction which we couldn't stop. My addictive substance, alcohol, my behaviour equally addictive around people, places and things, wanting to be with the right people, right working place, right relationship with a girl, right house, right this, right that, and when I get there it'll be good. But I never got to wherever there was, and I suppose what I did, I drank myself into oblivion on heartbreak. So what happened? Well, heartbroken, nervous breakdown, work exhaustion, you name it, everything collided into a perfect storm where addiction happened. And I guess it can happen for anyone, really. But the trouble is with addiction, it's the most isolating and lonely place on the planet, because once we're in it, we're obsessed by drinking to the exclusion of pretty much everything else. So turning life around, how did it happen? Well, professionals got me dry. They got me to a place of feelings coming out in all different directions, which I hadn't felt for years, or never felt, because I always drank them away. So the inappropriate feelings of being hateful, angry, rage, all those, and the 7 deadly sins, I guess, were all part of it, and the 7 virtues were part of it. A man conflicted with principles, and also a set of deficits, if you like, which I couldn't cope with. And it took me a long time to realise that I could not keep sober on my own. So what helped? Well, suggestions from the professionals: go to Alcoholics Anonymous, a fellowship of men and women who don't drink anymore. And I thought, well, that's the very last place I want to go. So I did go, and I did learn how to be sober one day at a time, and learn an awful lot more from listening to people who shared their experiences, the hope they have, and the strength they get in unity within the fellowship. So I'm not a joiner, but it was, as I imagined it to be, the last chance saloon. Anyway, I don't speak for AA, never can, never will. So if you are in the fellowship, you know I only speak for myself. And if you're new to the idea of recovery, well, fellowship is not the only way. You can find out there are many ways to get sober, but what works for me daily, because it's there, is a fellowship. And I can participate or not, but I can still go there and just be a part of something bigger than me, where there's more knowledge about what's going on. So at every meeting of AA, the AA preamble is shared, and this is what it says about AA. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking, and I wasn't even there when I first went. I just wanted respite. So this desire to stop drinking it can be, but you can just go along anyway, find out what it's about. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. So these are the reasons why I do these videos, and sometimes they're helpful and sometimes they're not helpful, and sometimes you need to switch off because I can go on a bit, and I fully appreciate that. So I share my reflections on where I am, and March for me has so far been about step 3, which is about a higher power in my life, and I find that the truth, love and wisdom of everyone is a very good higher power, and if God works through people, then there is plenty of wisdom about in the fellowship, about sobriety. There's also the opposite as well, the devil in the detail. So you still need to use your own sensibilities, your own judgments about what is right for you. And some people say, stick with the winners. Those people who are remaining sober one day at a time, and they're sharing about it and how they do it. So there are 12 steps, and step 3 is all about your higher power. Now, my feelings and reflections this morning. And don't forget, whether you're in fellowship or new to it, fellowship is about emotional and spiritual well-being today. It only works today. If you're thinking about the future, you're not in the moment. If you're thinking about the past, it's cluttering up your life right now, where you live. Anyway, this is me today, March 8th, 2013. In the Last Chance Saloon, what's God got to do with it? Tina Turner song. What's God got to do with it? The Fellowship of AA. I thought Alcoholics Anonymous was my last chance, and the idea of being the Last Chance Saloon is very appropriate in my understanding. I am happy to relate there are a great deal of powers in this world which are bigger than me. Where this is experienced, I haven't written it very well. There are a great deal of powers in this world bigger than me, and there is plenty of experience, strength and hope shared daily. In the Fellowship of AA, I was able to learn how to be sober and be sober one day at a time on a continuous basis because of the wisdom shared. If there is a God or a higher power, it seems to work through people where I can find universal truth, love and wisdom today. So people relate their personal experiences, but the good news is, from all those personal experiences, we can pick and bring into our own understanding of, well, that's like me. So we look for the similarities and not the differences. And we forget about that. Sometimes we're just judging people as, well, I wouldn't like to be in their shoes. But the truth is, we might have something to suggest how they can change the shoes they're in, or mind our own business if that's the right way forward. We don't know till it's happening. How could it be that a stubborn and defiant people, that's me, and probably you, if you're into addiction in a big way, how could it be that stubborn and defiant people, non-conformist, living to the extremes and finding themselves in addictive behaviour, could find a way out? Collectively, of course, and it seems so simple that when people come together in fellowship, it is a free choice, and there are no rules, laws or regulations ever to govern. Groups and meetings decide how they will be through a group conscience, which is always a power greater than one person. The group decides and not the individual. We learn humility through action and not by inaction or by being just a talking shop. 12 steps for an individual to find and live sobriety, all about action. And 12 traditions which hold the fellowship in unity, service and recovery, all action again as trusted servants, needing to work together and not be led by fractious or factions and headstrong individuals who might push the fellowship off course. So anything can happen in the next 24 hours, and if somebody gets out of order or makes suggestions which are inappropriate for the group or a meeting, the group has to decide what to do, and the person who may be headstrong and heading in the wrong direction may have to accept that the group won't accept their lead. It happens all the time, because we're human and stubborn and defiant, because we think we know better, but in the end we find out what the best way is as a group, and we put it into action. A recent meeting where I was able to listen to a share, or the chair as it's called, by a person I've known all my recovery, and it was good, and they shared beautifully about what fellowship means to them. An emphasis that fellowship is all about love. All about love. Learning what love is, how to love, and how to be loved back. So important to know that everyone starts to understand that fellowship is based on love, and sharing the emotional and spiritual journey, which makes sobriety possible one day at a time. And sharing about the first 6 steps, which are the old life, which led to addiction, and then the next 6 steps are all about the new life, without a drink, from fear to a faith. The nature of your faith is as it grows in you, and I get faith in doing the next right thing, and when I'm not sure, ring up a friend or somebody I know who has an idea about it, and there's plenty of those in fellowship and outside of fellowship as well. So from fear to faith, the nature of your faith is as it grows in you. The nature of my faith as it grows in me. Everyone develops faith and learns how to love and develop on their own. Humility is key, which is about learning. We just keep on learning if we are open to it. The nature of faith for each individual is different. The way we get to faith, or the way to get to a faith, is proven over and over again by utilising the 12 principles or 12 steps as they are. So by action and experience we learn about faith, and faith in making mistakes as well. So humility is key. The nature of faith for each individual is different. And then the steps will not make you a believer in God, I've come to understand, unless God is where you are, or what you understand God to be. I feel it is the universal truth, love and wisdom as it develops in the moment of now. And I keep on learning that as life goes on. So whether you believe in God or not, your faith will come as you develop a new outlook of courage to change how you are, and have the confidence that you can, and also know we get setbacks, because sometimes it's 2 steps forward and 1 step back, or 2 steps backward and 1 step forward, but sometimes we have to cover the ground again in order to understand what we can and cannot do today. You develop a new outlook of courage to change and have the confidence that you can. It is easy when you know how, by doing the steps and living the steps and putting them into action. And it is inexplicable. You can't explain it when you don't know how. So fellowship has helped me find my way, and I hope it helps you find your way too. So when we've got a bit of faith and confidence, courage grows. And the more courage we have, the more faith grows, and the more confidence grows. But also know you can get knocked back, because life is not easy. And the knockbacks in fellowship, where we can express what's going on, we can probably get some more help and support. But you can't change reality. Reality is as it is today. So the opportunities open to us need to be based on realistic opportunities and not expectations. Anyway, the meeting before the meeting with quite a few people, conscious contact with many people, I've come to know over the years. Some describe us as a tribe. I don't mind that, and yet if anyone listens carefully to the AA preamble to a meeting, which I always share at the beginning of my videos, fellowship is not allied with anything. So what you believe about life is where you get to one day at a time. When I was a newcomer, step 3, where God is mentioned, it did concern me until I realised everyone has their own idea about God in their lives, or not. And you choose what is right for you. Someone said to me last night that he hoped we would be friends even when we get to heaven, whatever heaven might be. We were talking about people who had died recently, and also in the distant past, like my dad. This was 22 years ago. 22 years ago. 23 years ago this year. And he said, someone said to me last night that he hoped we would be friends even when we get to heaven, whatever heaven might be. His friendship, if we land in the same place, which some people call heaven, I will be very pleased to be their friend and chat now and again for eternity. Not all day long though. And if he gets his wish, he'll have an Alfa Romeo car of some sort, which might be nice to talk about. Anyway, who knows? But the point is this: we develop an understanding of love, emotional and spiritual. The absolute supraordinate emotion the one which drives everything profoundly to the positive is love, and also profoundly to the negative is love. And within all of that we have a thinking head which is full of lust and vices, and then we have virtues as well. So all that stuff is going on in us. Unconditional love is pretty much not to do with vices, it's more to do with love and virtues. But this is something we are. We're a combination of all of those things. Who would have thought that a fellowship could teach the unteachable and last gaspers anything about life? I guess when we've been ruined by addiction and realise that life can get no worse, and we still have a choice to find reality again, it is an opportunity open to anyone, anywhere, because of AA in my case. Simple suggestions to face up to what has happened and keep in the company of like-minded people is truly difficult, because don't forget, we're all in different stages, and some of us are slow learners. So letting go, having to do everything and make good on my own, was the hardest thing to let go of. I was driven to prove myself, and then found I had nothing to prove to anyone. I needed simply to find out how to be myself without a drink in hand. I learn who I am on a daily basis, and will know more by the end of the day, and I can make choices with freedom from addiction, and have freedom to choose the path open in the reality of now. So it's not about God finding you a parking space or getting you the best job in the world. It's about you being on track, able to face reality and make real some of the things that you might feel are right for you. It's personal choice, of course, and facing reality, life on life's terms. And that can be very hard to do. So, love is behind everything, and when we cannot appreciate love and be able to love, or someone has withdrawn their love and desire for us, that is an extreme heartbreak. I don't know how many times I was heartbroken over the years, but it wasn't their fault, I have to say. I was heartbroken many times, and I had no defence against the pain of heartbreak. I just suppressed it with addiction and oblivion and alcohol. There's nothing worse than abandonment, and eventually to abandon oneself as unworthy of living, which is where a lot of us get to, and a lot of people don't make it to fellowship or to other forms of recovery, because it's extremely dark. So nothing worse than abandonment, and eventually abandoning oneself as unworthy to live. I have deep gratitude for every day which dawns, even when in darkenment, because I still get dark days, makes me feel the dread of loneliness. That dread is rare these days. Learning the truth one day at a time helps me to be included, to be loved, even when I feel unworthy of it. I find love works every day. Love may be not in the way I imagined in the past. Love in the present is ever present, and not just from one person today. Romance and partnership can be part of this. If this may happen, what happens most is love and inclusion and connection in whatever community we find ourselves today. Some people like football, some people love it, some people hate it. So, but there's love in there. You love a team, love this, love that. And there was a tragic story about a girl getting stabbed yesterday, and just a youngster, and the head teacher said, a lovely student, much loved by everyone. And they were, and the tragedy and the heartbreak. Anyway, that's just reality, and it's around us. And how am I feeling today? I mentioned to another person that I love them, which I feel was probably a bit of a shock to them. And when I say that about them, I love them as a person, not as an object. When my dad was nearly at his end, he mentioned with regret that he had been superficial and indifferent in his relationships within the family, and he had wished he had been able to cherish more and share his love and feel included. The words seemed to hit hard inside me. This is 20 odd years ago, and they did hit, and they did stick with me over the years. He's been dead a long time, and yet those three words, cherish, superficiality and indifference, came through. Three words, cherish, cherishing people, or treating them with superficiality and indifference. When we cherish people, they can feel it, and if we are superficial and indifferent with them, they will feel that. How we are with others is reflected in how they treat us. So if we cherish people, they're more likely to cherish us back. But if we're superficial and indifferent to their feelings, their emotions, they will treat us the same way. And I prefer to cherish these days when I can, and try not to be superficial and indifferent, because if I'm that way with others, I am that way with myself. And that's how I ended up superficial and indifferent, seeking oblivion and not wanting to wake up. I didn't have any cherishing for me. And I prefer to cherish these days when I can, and try not to be superficial and indifferent, because if I am that way with others, I am that way with myself. Open, honest and willing, developing courage, faith and confidence to love and be loved back, and find useful endeavours today. A message when I returned last evening from my best friend. She loves me and I love her. A bond developed over the years and sustainable without conditions, unless she finds romance in her life, in which case I shall put myself very much on the back burner. Now, that is unconditional love. We might not see each other every day, or even for a week or two, and still the conversation starts where it left off, and continues one day at a time. No pressure and no worries, and just able to be myself, and the same for her too. And a mutual friend of both of us, I bumped into them last night, and they gave me a big hug. And as I was still in a meeting after the meeting, I needed to go somewhere else in London. Some miles away, I saw them again. They'd been walking, must have been about half an hour or so, actually, in a meeting after the meeting, and it just made me smile. I saw them again in another part of London town, and the meeting after the meeting helped me realise that sharing what we know is founded on unconditional love, even when we don't know the impact on others, and the word shared can be profound. I hope that makes sense. It does to me. Wherever I go in London, 9 times out of 10 I encounter people I know, and they know me today. It's weird. I'm comfortable in my own skin and sober this morning, which is quite nice. Wow. Anyway, on the blog you'll find last year's as well, and it's grim, cold, and it's going to get colder. We've had 2 days of spring, which means spring is over, and now we're heading for a cold summer of rain probably, but I don't mind. Whichever way it works, we adapt to our environment if we are open, honest and willing to change. So I share the Serenity Prayer at the end of what I've had to say, daily reflection of some sort or other. And the Serenity Prayer can be my restoration to sanity, and it's an exhortation to the world, the universe, whatever it is that you choose to be your higher power, and God. Very simple word, and yet so profound. For me it represents the truth, love and wisdom we learn from each other. God works through people, and so does the devil. And I can recollect in my olden times being encouraged to drink rather than discouraging me, because I could be very funny, or just loutish as well. I look back, it was superficial and indifferent, and the depth of my love, I always felt it. and I also felt the heartbreak. It was always there. But these days, it's different. I actually love every person I've encountered in my life, including career. I might hate their behaviour, that's a different matter. And we don't forget, but we do forgive. So there are always consequences. Anyway, the Serenity Prayer, which digs me out of the dark places very often, can do, can't do, learning the wisdom every single day, is this: to God, or in good conscience, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage, indeed courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Always learned in the moment, minute, hour, and for one day.